Welcome on in, everyone, to the LCS Challengers Spring Promotion Tournament. Promotion Tournament. I'm Mazel. I'm joined by Desrex. I'm joined by Joshi. I've got the sick boys on the desk, but we're going to keep it nice and fun. Guys, you feeling okay? Start with you, Joshi. You got all your medicine? You got your hydration down?
We're feeling sick today, Lennon. It's going to be good. We're going to have a good one. We're actually almost back to full health at this point for both of us. And so
one of us.
That's what
I was going to say, you can't speak for Desiree. All right, Desiree, how you doing? You hanging in there, hydrated?
I'm still recovering. It's a different sickness, but, the only cure is the thickness of league action. So let's get that going, man.
I'm down with the sickness here as well. But we do have a little bit of sickness of our own in terms of the sick brackets and the format that we've had for this promotion tournament. So let's go ahead and kick it over to our video explaining all of the goodness of this tournament itself.
Welcome to the Spring 2023 LCS Challengers League Promotion Tournament. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Smax, and we're here to talk you through everything you need to know.
The promotion tournament will feature 8 teams from the North American developmental landscape, the 4 lowest placing NACL provisional teams from Spring, and the 4 teams who earned the most qualification points across the 2 NACL Spring Open qualifiers. These 8 teams will be placed into a modified double elimination bracket. Our first round will have a provisional team matched up against a qualifier team in a best of 3.
Seeding for the 4 provisional teams was based off performance in the NACL playoffs, while the qualifier teams were ranked by total points earned across both open qualifiers. The winners of the first round will play each other in the upper bracket best of 5, with those winners becoming the first 2 teams welcomed into the summer NACL season. The losers of round 1 will be sent down to the lower bracket, where they will play a do or a die best of 3 against another round 1 loser. The winners of this best of 3 will move on to our lower bracket best of 5, where they will face off against the loser of an upper bracket best of 5 to qualify for summer NACL. Those eliminated will have the chance to re-enter the open qualifiers next split to earn the chance to challenge the promotion tournament once again.
So, best of luck to the teams competing, and we'll see you there.
A nice little explainer from Summer and Sierra, but especially getting to hear about the format that we've already seen play out. We've gotten our first re-invite into the league, but it's been a heck of a run, it feels like, especially the way that the tournament's played out. The format, I loved it coming into it. The double elim bracket makes it so nice for these teams that don't feel like they just have a one shot to make it here, Joshi.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm not a huge surprise that AoE, they were the #1 seed coming into this tournament, and I feel a little bit, it feels a little bit rough for Maryville as the #1 team that we were kind of expecting to be from the provisionals, having to play up against AoE and getting so close to actually beating them in that best of 5. I mean, at least they still have another chance to try and make their way through to the next part of the bracket, but we can't understate, Eric, how well all the provisional teams, not even the provisional teams, all of the Tier 3, all of the semi-pro teams coming up.
MU could have really used that win because they fall into the stronger side of the bracket, which is a big surprise to us because, as you just said, TLF and FlyFam have taken early exits from the upper bracket and now are down on this bottom side here, which makes for an interesting story because when I look at this bracket, AoE's already gone through. You look at the upper side and we know we're guaranteed at least one more team. Loser of the match today is going to fall into that Supernova versus Last Dance match. That puts a very realistic possibility that we might have 3 new faces in the NACL. Already 1 is guaranteed.
It's so sick. I love it so much. And it's all coming down to how it's been on the Rift, right? It has been incredible performances from our qualifier teams off the back of a lot of times when we were looking at our rankings and things like that coming in. It was not high. But you've had such an incredible resurgence for these qualifier teams coming into this prepared tournament. So I've really appreciated the gumption of a lot of these teams, but there's still a lot to finish here, and we got to book ourselves another NACL spot today later on. But we do have to check in on some of the community sentiment that we've had over the last day, as we did have AoE locking it in, and a little bit of a victory dinner here, huh, Desrex?
Yeah, you know what? It's celebration time, so if they want to have a real good one, hit up Josh over here, because he's got his own personal chef named Rafa, makes some outstanding meals. You know, we've seen it on the socials, man. We've seen it on the socials.
Took us me a little moment to actually get to where you're going with that. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I cook sometimes, but like I do just happen to live with one of the best chefs here in esports, and here with all the mukbang, we do know that AoE, now that they are back in, they don't actually live around here anymore, right? They ended up having to pack up, and a lot of them have gone back home, but this is a great opportunity for them to, you know, hang out at least one more time before everything has gone back, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else AoE will be bringing in the next season.
I know I'm probably going to get judged for this, but Winnie, drinking milk at dinner, sus, man. Anyways, we're going to go on to the next community.
I just have to say, I'm impressed. Like, not a lot of people could do that.
Just say, I have my cake with milk, and I saw a cake slice there, so I'm justifying it.
It was like a Neapolitan cake, too. Anyways, we got Acadian weighing in. I think lost hair from coaching that series. Gotta love a little bit of growth from the coaching side. Super proud of the guys. Made some adaptations throughout, but wow, so relieved we won. See everyone in NACL in summer. GG Maryville, Joshi.
It is hard to stop a reverse sweep in Game 5, and the fact that AoE were able to do that is a big testament to, you know, the strength of their willpower, the strength of their mental, to go from 2-0 to 2-2, and then to still win the series anyway. Honestly, great stuff coming through to AoE, but also, I mean, it gives a lot of expectations towards how Maryville will do in the rest of the bracket.
And I'm just going to say, AoE is a team that I feel didn't quite reach their full potential over the spring, so I'm very happy that they're back in, because now this is a time to offer and show what they can really develop, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it should be pretty exciting to see another split of growth. I think that's the biggest thing, is they can rest a little bit assured in that fashion. But now we got to look at our last tweet here, see what we have on the table, and it is from Quacker. Throwing out a little bit of his, win rate on the Olaf. No big deal. But able to show up and carry. I think the champion was exposed a little bit, but about to graduate in early May, so I have time to improve. And you love some graduation, some self-improvement here as well, Desiree.
Yeah, it's the second coming of Faisal. Everyone hide your top laners. They're all about to get solo killed. This guy's playing so much Olaf, man. The Quack is on the attack. It was big shoes to fill, especially considering he was filling in for Gamsu. And nothing really tests you more than a 5-game series, but he held strong.
Yeah, I mean, just the ability to come in as a substitute without the same level of practice that everybody else in the team had for quite a while. I mean, I think it speaks, one, to Quacker's ability to adapt and hold their own up in the top lane, but also to the rest of the team as well, right? We know that they were playing together for so long, especially at the University of Western Ontario, that really helped them get all the extra reps in across just the years that they've been playing together.
And it's been really interesting for Quacker specifically, because when we talked to Winnie, or we heard from Winnie at least, he was saying, we wanted Quacker, or we wanted a top laner that could play a little bit more aggressively in lane. And, well, you got that, I feel like, so far, and the Olaf's making it look real good. But we do have to kind of look and, I guess, ponder on the matchup that we have today, because we will be booking another NACL spot. And this time, it is going to be going to one of our qualifier teams, and what a wonder it is. We've got Team Tony Top versus Team Fish Taco. And it feels like it's been a long time coming at this point for this tournament, even though the tournament's not been that long. But I feel like we have so many bangers, and the moment to shine is nigh, at least at this point, Joshi.
Yeah, and I also just have to say, like, looking at this card, right, Tony Taco, it seems like a mascot for something of some kind, We got Tony Tiger.
Face battle for most interesting logos that we have.
True, just a face. But we also, just as we were praising AoE for all of the collegiate experience that they have had, it is worth noting that 8 of the 10 players who we currently have in this series are also involved in a number of different schools as well. The UST boys coming together all on one side, and on the other side, it has a bunch of different players. One from Toronto, we got somebody taking a year off from USC, and of course, Wallflower also playing for Maryville, but just not on the main roster right now. So that's part of why they're actually coming through to join us here for Team Tony Top.
I mean, a lot of Tier 3 NA has become engulfed in the collegiate landscape, and I love it. In cases like Dardock, it gives a way to take advantage of your post-LCS skills and even get a degree with it, or perhaps for younger players, look to develop alongside a pipeline, maybe even push into coaching. It feels like we have a healthy mix in both squads.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing is you still see that outside development, not only through their gaming and what they do approaching the game, but it's about how they approach life, how they approach school. And I think it's so important, and it's so difficult. That is not an easy schedule to have. So props to all the squad that's be able to kind of do both and choose a little bit of education on top of competition. I think it's super important going forward here, especially with how many active collegiate players we have. Also, shout out to Red, the Harvard man. No big deal.
PhD.
Subtle flex.
Microbiology, was it?
Yeah, it was microbiology, which is just every time I hear it, I'm like, man, you started
what are you
with
doing
the
playing
hard
League
one,
for?
and then you went even harder. But we got to get a little bit to the brass tacks today with our beautiful graphic of Team Tony Top. Let's go ahead and bring up this roster.
This is the best.
They have absolutely banged this early promo trip, at least. But as you were kind of foreshadowing to, best logo on the Rift?
Best logo. Best everything. It's not micro, it's molecular biology. My bad. But Team Tony Top, this is my favorite roster image of, I think, all of the different teams because it's just Tony's face 6 times. But it's not just Tony Top.
They said in the interview,
7
by
times.
the way, they said that they were gonna have merch coming out. They're gonna have sweatshirts. They're gonna have all stuff. So make sure you get on the ground floor. All I'm saying, Desiree.
Yeah.
You know, I think this squad, as we look at them on the Rift, was the easiest to underestimate, excuse me, sorry. I think Tony Top, you're instantly drawn over to him and what he can do, as you can see with some of the invades he was doing to get first blood in that last one. But I just want to point out Wallflower and Levitate in particular, who have been showing a lot of the bright spots of this squad. It's awesome that Wallflower, formerly Arconic, is looking so comfortable smashing a lot of these early game paths. Levitate's been playing some of the most disgusting Lucian play. There's a surprising amount of depth on this squad.
Yeah, but I do think it really has to be a lot of praise over towards Wallflower, whose early game aggression in their last series going up against FlyFam really kind of set the tone for how Team Tony Top was actually going to be finding their wins. There was so much aggression, so much control of the game coming out from this jungler that really allowed them to kind of snowball a lot of the game. And when you pair that with Tony Top, who has had a lot of previously Academy experience as well, it's not a whole lot of surprise that this team is finding success.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially getting to, hey, that's me. Especially getting to see kind of how they approach that and how dominant some of their victories were. That last one was 4 dragons in a row for them at the end when FlyQuest had so many early on. So very interested to see how they approach the macro game. But Team Fish Taco on the other side, they had maybe a little bit of a wonkier time finishing out their games yesterday. But it was still a clean victory for them and something they'll be using as momentum coming into this one specifically, Deserex.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of where the memes come in. University, St. Taco, Team Fish Thomas. As an org, props to having some of the best content, but as a squad, there's so much to love about them. I mean, Dapshin's been playing incredibly well. I don't know if you've watched their socials. They made a little highlight reel for some of his Nautilus buffers.
Yo, that buffer yesterday or the other day was insane.
It was nuts. Over the wall, he got that buffer through and stopped the Blitzcrank hook. Alorum is the house that the big bad wolf Surdy couldn't huff and puff and blow down. Robbie Bob is now playing more towards that control mage style that we kind of missed in EGC. And all of this has gotten them one series away from getting into the NACL.
Yeah, and we'll see how well they actually do. Once again, this is a team that is probably a little bit better known to a lot of the people who are only now coming back to look at a lot of these players, with Red kind of the only player that a lot of people might not be as familiar with, partly because I mean, they haven't really had a ton of experience before they actually came here to join Team Fish Taco, whereas the rest of them have been playing in collegiate or LCS or previous semi-pro events in the past. But this is a team that actually has a lot of strength here as well, and it feels like a bit of a redemption for Robbie Bob, who was playing with Evil Genius's Challengers before Ryoma was able to join them, and just seeing like the increased ability for Robbie to play now that they are actually much more a star of the team rather than kind of a substitute has helped a lot.
This clip right here, though, I will just say, like, it is actually insane. We got to talk a little bit in the interview afterwards. Apparently, it was just a question of, do minions in here? I think minions in here, guys. And then they ended. So, you know, all in all, again, a roundabout victory for Taco. Maybe not as dominant as I would say Tony Tops was, but in all actuality, they still came out and handled business against Team Liquid first, which is actually incredible. And that's why I've propped up so heavily these two teams, but also all of our qualifier teams, because it has been the shaking of the mold, it feels like. And we'll see if any of that mold can be shaken, as there is a tall mountain for Tony Top to climb. And Desrex, you had the honor of putting this one together.
If Tony wants to get on top of the Tier 3 mountain and break into Tier 2, which is NACL, you need to brave the treacherous mountain that is Mount Alorum. Surdy has already put on his gear and tried to climb this mountain. Guess what? He fell off and unfortunately descended all the way to the bottom. An avalanche came, buried all the way over there. Now it's Tony Top's turn to take that climbing gear and try and do this. But what this is saying, basically, is Alorum is one of the best defensive players, one of the best tank players that we have over here in this promotion tournament. And if you're stonewalling Surdy with that type of play, Tony Top, you're going to have to bring your best.
Pretty sure this was from the Rise music video, actually.
Exact copy. I mean, come on. You didn't have to give us a
I remember Alorum's face is like Faker had to climb the mountain.
I think we have different histories. I think we have different histories here. But
I
I
like
think
your version, though.
This top lane matchup is going to be so interesting in its own right, because I think we'll either see Alorum be able to neutralize that top lane and Tony Top not really have that influence, or Tony Top is able to find the side lane pressure and Arco have to find a way to deal with it to some extent, Desrex.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to, because if Tony Top does get going, if Alorum can't stop him, we saw the 1-3-1 that team Tony Top can play, and it suffocated their last opponents.
It is a little bit suffocating. We'll see what happens today, though, as we do have our best of 5 getting ready to kick off. We have game number 1 at Picks and Bans ready to go. So, guys, take it away.
Gladly, Lennon. And how you feeling, Josh? How are you feeling? Are we recovered enough to start taking in this action?
I think we're getting ready. Team Tony Top versus Team Fish Taco coming through game 1. Now, I do want to put in a little bit of a caveat to some of the things that we have been seeing, right? Both Tony and Alorum were able to beat up Lunacia and Surdy respectively, but it felt as though both Lunacia and Surdy weren't necessarily playing to their full power. We saw them playing a lot of champions that we weren't used to them seeing. A lot of tank play coming out from both of them, whereas this is going to be the kind of thing where we know that both Tony and Alorum are going to be playing to their own strengths. Tony, well known for playing all of these more carry style oriented top laners, whereas Alorum has been your tank player for years and years and years. And we will see what it is that Alorum actually wants to bring to the table, as it already looks like a lot of bans coming out from Team Tony are already trying to shut down this top lane.
Yeah, they're focusing towards that top side. The Scion banned away. The Gragas was a big pick in their match against FlyFam. They're able to flex it both between Alorum and Dardoch, so it's good to take that away. Meanwhile, Taco are going to take away the Marksman pool. They're taking away the Lucian. Levitate was phenomenal in that last series. See what the final ban is going to be. Just purely going after those tanks now, as the next one will be Maokai.
A little bit surprising to see that Maokai has really kind of surged back into the meta, right? We know that Wallflower was playing it in their previous series as well. Dardoch can play it, but as we start taking a look at this, it has been a lot of focus from Team Fish Taco to try and limit what it is that Levitate and Snow 2 can play. And it is worth noting that between both teams, I think that Levitate and Snow 2 versus Red and Daption is probably going to be the most volatile spot on the map, just because of how fresh a lot of these players are. Most of these players have really only been playing in the competitive scene for this last year, maybe 2022, right? Some of them have been playing for a little bit longer, but that does create a situation where any small changes to the push in the bottom lane will really help out one team or the other.
I will say, though, Levitate has been standing up to the pressure very, very well in the bottom lane for Team Tony Top. And now going to have a champion that can show off a little bit more of that presence. Zeri will get locked. And I do like that Taco banned away the Lulu. This was something that Team Tony Top were able to formulate in some of their last drafts. They would get stuff like Zeri, Azir, and Lulu, which is just chaos to have to deal with. Going to be paired along with the Rakan for Team Tony Top's Phase 1.
Yeah, lots of dive coming through from Team Tony Top, right? I really like this general style of aggression. You have so many ways to get in. You have the Wukong, you have the Rakan, who are going to be these big dive buddies. There's so much crowd control being put down on the far side of the map. And the Zed Hover, we tend not to talk about it, but it is a Robbie Bob special. It hasn't been something we've seen in a hot minute. Instead, we are going to be going back over towards the Vi as the classical answer to the Zeri ever since it has come through. Just lock them down, try and blow them up that way. But currently, there's not a whole lot of extra pressure that's getting put onto Levitate.
I still like it coming out for Taco because it does give a good amount of pick potential. Dardoch at any phase of the game will be a threat thanks to Vault Breaker, but once you do get that point and click, it will sync up so well with Daption, who again we were giving a lot of props to in his last series. Just got to see how else this comp is going to start to formulate. They are going to ban away that Jax, so Tony finally getting a ban onto that Jax, which is his pocket special.
Yeah. I mean, it has been one of the best champions he's played throughout his entire career, right? An 81% win rate over that lifetime. Whereas the other things that I'm kind of expecting to see coming through from Tony Top at this point, right? The Gwen, maybe the Ornn. Neither of these, I guess Gwen is still pretty meta, but Ornn has kind of fallen off to the wayside a little bit. And I don't think you really want to be challenging Alorum to a tank off, especially in these kind of best of fives. The only reason why I would think it's even possible is it's game one. Right, in game one, you kind of just get to see is like, all right, how are they playing today? Can we try a variety of different things here? But with the Gwen already taken off the table, it really limits some of Tony's most historically successful champions.
Tony gonna target over towards the mid lane pool. Gonna take away a few of those control mages. Victor, as well as Veigar, not gonna be on the map this time. Taco, it's their pick. Let's see what they're looking to go for right here. As we said, they do have some good point and click, some good scaling alongside with this Phalios. I don't expect a Draven to really get locked in right here. A little bit left on the clock. We were expecting more tank play because it is Alorum. Does like that seat. He does play to it well, and the lock-in will be over towards the mid lane, so they're going to lock in Robbie Bob and save the counter pick for Alorum.
Yeah, interesting, right? This is one the kind of thing where Robbie Bob hasn't been historically the strongest Ahri player or the strongest, like, more assassin-y mage player, but it is something where you do need to have a little bit more threat here onto Levitate as well. I'm a little bit surprised that Sudsy, they already have this composition where you have a lot of engaged threat coming through, but Azir has kind of shifted away from that character that's just going to be jumping on in and doing a whole lot of damage all at once. It really has been pushed towards more of a DPS mage on the other side of the map, and this is going to be a spot where we now have a ton of ranged DPS later on in the game for Team Tony Top, but they're kind of missing out on strong ways to actually get there in the first place. And as we see our last pick coming through, it's got to be for Tony Top. What are they actually going to lock in? It is going to be the Kennen. So this is a lot of magic damage coming out for Team Tony Top, actually, right? Azir is there, Kennen's there, and also Zeri does something like 40% of her damage is also magic damage. I'm curious what it is that Alarm's going to pick, because if you pick a strong magic resistance tank, the game almost ends.
Instead, gonna go straight over for the Malphite, which we know to be a strong armor tank to that regard, but hey, you can
still build magic resist.
Yeah, you can still get the magic resist going. What I like coming out from Tony Top is it's a very, very skirmish-heavy team fight that they can provide. If they set up good flanks, which Tony Top has been known for setting up, they can absolutely wipe the floor, but they got to get onto that back line. They got to do it before Taco engages, because that point and click is deadly.
Yeah. And I already like what we're seeing from the Taco Gaming, Team Fish Taco, because it is going to be one of these teams that... My bad. It is one of these teams that has a lot of ways to deal with all the different flankers, right? You have three that you really have to be aware of, and Tony Top, Wallflower, and Snow 2. Whereas Taco, they have Alarm to mark one of them, Dardoch to mark another one, and Daption can mark the third. So as long as they're very conscientious of where the members of Team Tony Top are, it should be relatively easy to keep red safe.
I think a lot of the pathing in the early game is going to be something we should be watching just because of Wallflower and the impact he's been able to do. Wallflower, tremendous jungler, was part of the MU program, has been there on and off for about 2 years now. The thing with a lot of the MU subs was they were allowed to play in the NACL queues. Considering the road ahead, I'm sure he would love it if both MU and Iconic, aka Wallflower, both qualified this week.
Yeah. Definitely ask a lot of questions for me as well, like how will these teams balance things like CLOL and NACL going forward? But that's something where they got to get there, right? We know that people like Lurky have been saying for a long time that you need to support your collegiate ecosystem in order to actually support your semi-pro ecosystem at the same time. And we are already seeing, I feel like this match is a perfect example of that, right? So many of these players currently working through the collegiate system as well. Also, I mean, it just goes to show that you don't necessarily have to choose between getting a degree and actually looking to go pro. A lot of these players still right on that cusp of trying to find their way in towards the Challengers League to actually potentially find their way towards LCS someday.
I think it's important to note that it is a very stressful thing to try and pull off both like NACL and Collegiate. Was it last split? We had a player in CLG Faith who tried to do the grind, do the hustle, and unfortunately kind of took the best of them. You know, it's a lot of effort to get to the top, but there are pipelines there. You got to be willing to put in that effort and put in that grind.
Yeah, and let's not, throw any shade towards Serenok. Serenok was doing like 4 things at the same time, right? That's a lot. I feel like a lot of players have shown that they can do too, because Bajani was another player who's doing both Collegiate and NACL at the same time. Now look at this. I'm kind of curious what Daption will actually get done down in the bottom lane. Not going to be finding anything, it looks like. Instead, it is going to be Dardog and Wallflower on opposite sides of the map. See a little bit of trading.
Trade and skirmish coming out. I've been a big fan of Daption for quite some time now.
He's adorable, man.
Especially when you're able to get him on interviews. But his play more, Josh, than his actual appearance and demeanor.
I would just say, like, he's one of the most humble players I think I've ever come across, right? He's so focused on like everybody that he's been excited to work with. Like when he was playing with Arrow and Wildcard, it was this big opportunity for them to be like, yeah, I feel like I'm learning so much every game playing with Arrow. I just want to make sure that all of my teammates are having a good time. And it feels as though this player has been consistently one of the players who is so close to making it into the next level, and this is their opportunity. They just need to win this series and actually find their way towards the academy, the Challengers scene.
Always one of the best mindsets when it comes to the game. Always in high spirits, has a really positive outlook towards the game. I got to appreciate that from one of your players in roles such as the support position. But now as we take a closer look at what's going on in the jungle, it's going to be the top side fully cleared out for Dardoch. Will result in him ending up towards his bottom side where early vision has been established by Taco. Opposite is true for Wallflower, who finishes top end.
Yeah. Not a huge surprise here, as both of them will be clearing everything out, waiting for the crabs to spawn. And this is one of the things about Wukong, right? It's why a lot of people will go for ganks through the mid lane on their way over to the opposite side of their own map, because oftentimes you'll be there a couple of seconds before anything actually does spawn. And so at the same time, it is worth noting that up on the top side, because Taco knows that Dardoch is moving down to the other side of the map, and they don't know exactly where Wallflower is. You got to be very careful here, as Alarm is already a big laning advantage coming out from Tony Top right off the bat. Basically, 2 waves, at least completely uncontested, already in favor going into Tony. And we were talking a little bit about how important it is for characters like this Kennen to be strong for the actual flanking opportunities later on. This is a fantastic start.
Tony wants to keep this momentum going and make sure he doesn't allow Alarm to get into that position where he can just really walk around this game and start those split-second fights in the favor of Team Fish Taco. Naka's going to go right underneath the turret. Red getting some shots just out of range from the turret on top of that, so beautiful harassment in the bot lane.
Yeah. And everybody just kind of getting caught, taking little bits of chunks all over the map, as Suji also takes some back up against Robbie Bob. But overall, the map mostly just kind of remaining steady. A small lead coming out for Team Fish Taco's bottom lane. Also a small lead coming through for Robbie Bob. But I feel like the big story is, again, how far ahead the titular character is here for Team Tony Top. And Tony Top up here in the top lane is able to come back to lane at 5 minutes with Sorcerer's Shoes to just a Ruby Crystal. This is going to be an opportunity here for Tony Top to kind of dictate a lot of plays around the Rift Herald, and potentially, if they wanted to, once they start getting towards level 6, can start putting a lot of threat into Robbie Bob as well.
Ooh, a nice knock-up on the red. A lot of damage on the red. That sentence goes out, finds Levitate. Now Daption starts to run low. Snow doesn't have too much mana to work with, so I'm going to go mostly neutral to that regard, but with priority coming out for Team Fish Taco in the bottom lane, Dardoch should get Drake.
Yeah. We'll be able to pick that one up. It is going to be well before the Rift Herald actually spawns, so Dardoch, another one of these players that people probably recognize. I know during one of our content pieces, Summer was calling them Darda. We have no idea who this guy is. Yeah, they've been around the block a couple of times, most famously, I believe, for Immortals as well, looking for opportunities to find their way back. And They are actually one of the players that has been playing here for University of St. Thomas alongside Robbie Bob and Daption, with Alarm as their coach. And it has been kind of showcasing, right, the extra scrim bucks that you get, the extra synergy that you are able to build up by playing with the same players in multiple environments has been very good.
That's the incredible part about Alorum that you just mentioned. The fact that he's both playing and coaching and doing an unstoppable force to the face of Tony Top. Only going to chip away, getting down to about 300 health. But back to that point, I forget who in specific he's coaching. I know he's coaching 2 players. Do you remember those names, Josh?
I thought it was Robbie and Daption.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. Because I know, all the UST players, like Alorum is a coach, but it's definitely Robbie is one of them. But as we take a look at this, it is, again, a lot of big laning advantages already coming out in different places. And I actually do really like the ultimate that Alorum did throw up towards the top side, because it does buy him a wave back, right? He was already looking at a 2, 3, 4 wave disadvantage. Now he's back down to only 2. And Wallflower needs to be really proactive with their reads here, because Dardoch could look for this dive.
Well, Dardoch looking to set up Death Sentence. Finds it on the Levitate. But no one willing to hold the aggro just yet. Wallflower is coming down to this bottom lane. Will get spotted out. Decides to hop in, but only for harassment. Will not use the Cyclone. Not looking to take the fight, only looking to alleviate for his bottom lane.
Yeah. And, charge them a little bit for killing that ward, right? You can't kill that for free. Here, take 100 damage. But it does prevent any further dive coming through from Team Fish Taco. And it does mean that Wallflower will continue to farm up. But as long as these 2 maps are even, Eric, I have to say I like it coming through for Team Tony Top, right? You have this really strong scaling base in the Azir.
Slicing Maelstrom under the turret. It's gonna be a solo kill for Tony Top. He will be able to traverse the mountain.
And all of these minions that are being lost to Alarm as well. A couple of plates getting picked up. Yeah, we liked the ult from Alarm previously to actually try and buy some of those waves back, but he just lost all that and more to a great play coming from Tony. That's just a stat check. Alarm just didn't believe him.
And things are going to get a lot worse if Tony Top can keep pulling off stuff like this, because Kennen is a team fighter. You were already favoring Tony Top, especially considering a lot of their scaling in Sudsy and Levitate. But Tony himself getting going, that could be disaster for Taco.
And it buys the Rift Herald as well, right? The fact that it's getting so much more than just the kill is what we always love to see from these different players. He's already got the Dark Seal starting to stack up. He's got the Hextech Alternator. This guy is going to be chunking, and with the buffs that Kennen received a while back, especially towards the Q, like Tony Top is not going to be a threat that falls off later on. It's going to be forcing a lot of early magic resist coming out from the rest of Team Fish Taco.
And Alorum's not going to have that ability to just outright stat check a Kennen like you would with some of the other champions that Malphite does go against. You are going to be in a tight spot over there, but we do have to look into the bottom lane right now because Dardoch is eyeballing over here. There's not much vision really afforded to Team Tony Top. Pry Ward goes down, coming out from Daption. Still just holding control for the time being.
Yeah. We also have to point out that Team Fish Taco have picked up 3 plates down here in the bottom side with basically no intervention. We've only seen the junglers come down a couple of times, and it's mostly just been hovers as well. But Sudsy? Wow, I thought that charm was actually going to land.
Yeah, I was convinced that landed for a second, but just out of the range. That was a pixel perfect.
So, I mean, with the gold still less than 1,000 gold between the 2 teams, we are starting to look at a bit of an arms race across the board, Eric. We do have Tony himself having a huge advantage up here on the top side of the map, but also Red is getting stronger and stronger. And while we have talked about how effectively Team Tony Top will be scaling on into the game, Robbie Bob will have a fantastic moment here at around 1-2 items.
A nice death sentence. Doesn't have enough mana for the Flay, so couldn't get him into the box right there, but still starting up with the engage. Robbie Bob's not going to land the charm. A good amount of damage onto Wallflower. Finding the Moonlight Visual onto Wallflower. Will get the stun, and Dardoch finds the kill onto Wallflower. Snow able to stay alive. One more auto will take him down, and it's a double for Dardoch.
Wow, wow. Is it over? Okay, yeah, it looks like it's over. That's so much extra pressure coming through from Team Fish Taco. they've done a good job so far in actually making sure that their bottom lane has already built up a lead just off of the pressure from Red and Daption alone. Now, with all 4 people coming down, they instantly pick up the jungler who's here to try and stop this exact play from happening. I was a little bit worried when I saw that Dardoch went over the wall, but instantly finds out Wallflower does a ton of damage, and because Red willing to throw out the ultimate here, guarantees the Q coming out from Dardoch, and then it's an easy cleanup after that. Smite.
I want to see a pick right there. It was a smite. Okay.
Yep.
Nice little kill to walk into the back end, and good pressure to be applied by Team Fish Taco. It's been a hard lane to crack, both Levitate and Snow. A lot of teams have tried it so far, and they've been able to sustain a lot and be able to get away through it. But now it seems like the attention is going to be put into the mid lane, both teams setting up around here.
Yeah. There is this dragon here to play for as well. It is worth noting that even with these kills going over, the lead that Tony Top himself has built up in the top side is massive. And are they going to keep Lorem here? Yeah, he's dead too.
Man. Lorem's getting locked down. He does have flash. He has unstoppable force. You only have to burn one of those, but does get out.
That's going to be an entire turret going over. A Wallflower and Tony Top will share that, and they're both still here. They might be trading a second-tier top lane turret for this dragon, which is so much gold to be giving over towards Team Tony Top. Wallflower comes up, they can probably get this whole thing.
So much gold given over to the Tony Top.
The Tony.
This cannon is going. I'm waiting for that second tower to now hit the ground, and there's going to be a lot of gold in the pocket of Tony. Meanwhile, on the bottom,
yeah, there it is.
Looking to trade out. Tower does go down. 2 tier 2s into the pocket, and it's cha-ching for Tony Top.
Yeah, it's like 1,200 going over to this cannon all at once. 2 kills from the second turret. Effectively, 2 more kills from toppling the first turret. What does he have? He should have the whole Proto Belt and change at this point. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I wonder how much extra they will actually get from that. I wonder if that's a whole needlessly large rod, maybe like a... Oh, it's just a Fiendish Codex as well. Interesting. I wonder if they're actually going to be building that one into. There's still a lot of options. Zonia's is always good on this character, but typically you start with a stopwatch if that's the way you're actually going to be going. But at the same time,
when you're this
it's not... Yeah, it's not really matched here on the other side of the map by Team Fish Taco, right? They get a couple of those kills before. They do get the dragon, but a dragon is not worth 2 turrets.
Yeah, there's a lot more gold given over to Tony Top than there was over in that bottom lane to Red and Daption. And more is incoming. Tony Top will get another solo kill against Lorem. Dardoch showing up, 3-level deficit, but still has the hands to be able to take him down with another smite kill.
That's funny. That's 2 in 1 game. That's pretty funny coming through from Dardoch. Yeah, when Pikachu doesn't have the any electricity left, it's a lot harder to get anything done. But it is still just going to be a shutdown. It already is spelling a lot of doom. While it does help out Dardoch, it means that we are going to be seeing Lorem struggling for quite a bit longer, especially in the side lane, because they don't have a single item completed. And that will allow Tony Top, they will have basically everything they need for the upcoming dragon fight in about 3 minutes. And I feel like that's going to be one of the big moments for Team Fish Taco. If Robbie Bob is able to find purchase in that fight, it'll give them a lot of tools. But if that fight goes poorly...
Oh, trying to find Robbie, but Robbie does flash in time. That's still a tier 1 going down over in the mid lane. Sudsy able to claim that. We'll try and put some more pressure with the Azir turret. Wallflower and Sudsy both trying to hold the ground over here. It's going to be a lot of space opened up for Team Tony Top as they try and get control of the map.
Yeah, and this should be an opportunity here for Team Fish Taco to take down the bottom lane turret as well. Uh-oh, Lorem.
Oh, Lorem in a bad spot. Will get caught out. Another stun
Ultimate
comes
soon.
in. He's got his ultimate, so he's got to use it to get away if Tony Top uses his. But fortunately, Tony Top can't chase anymore. Lorem, this is just a very bad game for him.
Yeah, this is a rough one. We will see what can actually be done about it because of the amount of pressure Tony Top has in the top side of the map. It is going to be the Rip Herald being picked up once again for Team Tony Top. And with the top lane turret, the mid lane turret already broken down, actually 2 turrets already broken down and up in the top side, there's not as many options to use this, right? They've already done what they usually are going to be looking to do with this Rift Herald. We've seen that Team Tony Top have really focused on getting their team captain ahead.
Ooh, right over the wall. Snow in a bad spot. It does have the Flash and Ghost if he so wants to chase, but not willing to burn those summoners to try and take down the support. Snow will escape.
Yeah. So as we said, Eric, I do really feel as though this next fight coming around the Dragon will tell us a lot about how the rest of the game will be going. I feel as though Team Fish Taco really need to actually take that fight. They need to find an advantage here relatively soon. Otherwise, Team Tony Top will just be able to skyrocket ahead. Their scaling will start to take over by the time the 4th Dragon actually spawns. And at that point, it's probably going to be a bit too late for Team Fish Taco to kind of come back in this one. And so the players we really got to look at, Dardoch, Robbie Bob have a lot of this team's damage at this point in the game, and they have the tools to really gang up on the same target, where on the other side of the map, it's going to be all about how effectively Tony Top can actually take the fight. If he gets a flank off, it doesn't matter how cool Robbie and Dardoch are playing.
But to speak towards those flanks, teleport's still on cooldown, so Lorum can head over towards that top side and at least try and hold down out of range of Tony Top, hopefully to not get caught out in the stun again. Tony Top gonna make that movement over early towards the Dragon side to meet with the rest of the team. Does seem like Tony Top, at least the squad, wanna take this fight around Drake.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Team Tony Top, I mean, they can choose to take this. They also don't even need to take it, but Team Fish Taco definitely feel like they need to do something. They are here first, but the setup is a little wonky. The Rift Herald is getting dropped. It is worth noting that Tony Top, he is not with the rest of the team. Whether or not that means he's flanking or just cut out is an entirely different question, as it does look like the Rift Herald will get the first crash.
See, I don't know how aware Taco were of it. They do have vision on him now. He did just walk over that ward. So they do have some positioning. Not too afraid of the flank coming out. Robbie Bob has to get into a better position, though, because don't want to get caught out. Red trying to control the wave over in the mid lane. The rest of Taco, they're spread pretty thin right now. This is a pretty advantageous situation for Tony. Robbie Bob now going to rejoin the fight. As the blast plant not far off, looking for that flank.
Here it comes! Instantly with the engage, slicing Maelstrom does absolutely nothing because Team Fish Taco are too quick on the trigger. They'll take 4 and take down Tony Top. Levitate's the only one that remains, and he's not long for this world ace for Team Fish Taco.
That's huge for Team Fish Taco. They have put themselves right in a dominating position. That huge ult coming through from Alarm of all people. He was having a rough game, but he comes right on back. His team cleans them up. They get to clean up the bottom wave. They get the mid wave. They get the Dragon as well, putting them on Ocean Soul Point. Instant call coming through from Team Fish Taco.
Just look at this. It's so snappy from Alorum with the flash on top of it. There's no time to react.
Yeah, Tony Top dies. He has no flash. The ultimate doesn't go off at all. He's instantly blown up, and that's the #1 player that we needed to see have a good time here from Team Tony Top. But he wasn't on a flank, wasn't able to get anything done. The rest of his team hasn't scaled just quite yet, so there's no way Team Tony Top can take it from that position. So great call coming through from Team Fish Taco. I said they need to find a fight win, and they do so. They put themselves 1 Dragon away from the Soul, and now it gives them a whole nother lease on life, where Robbie Bob and Dardoch still going to be dictating the pace of the game for a little while longer.
And this is Alorum for you. It was an incredibly rough lane for him to have to deal with against Tony Top. Tony Top got the better, and there's no other argument about that. But Alorum's still playing Malphite, man. All he's got to do is press 1 well-timed R, and he does. And now he's suddenly back in game. 5 assists right there. I mean, he's still definitely behind 3K when you look over at that matchup with Tony Top, but he is a tank, and he played his role perfectly.
Yeah, this is something that Alarm has always been good at when we look at their history in the semi-pro in particular, right? Knowing when to actually go for these big fights, understanding what the different moments are for his champions, and he's really good at playing a lot of these characters that kind of boil down their major decisions to like one specific moment, and that was a perfect example of it right there. And so we'll see what else Coach Alarm can actually do as Dardoch. Wow.
That sentence is going to be found on the snow, and it's a pick for Team Fish Taco.
I mean, I like the idea to be looking for picks here for Team Tony Top, but great awareness coming through from Dardoch, and instant response from Daption as well to pick off Snow too. I mean, we're really starting to look at a game where it is Tony Top or bust for actually trying to find some of these opportunities. It's going to take a long time for Sudsy and Levitate to get back online from this position because of how dominant the rest of Team Fish Taco have been.
Yeah, Sudsy and Levitate, when put in that position, can absolutely snowball and steamroll. The thing is, Wallflower hasn't gotten them online. They haven't gotten towards that state yet, so this is looking a little bit doom and gloom for Team Tony Top. If you don't have those, those carry scaling. I couldn't say the word scale for some reason. Then, yeah, you're not.
Because the fish is on the other team.
Dang it. I was about to say something and it hit me at the same exact time.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, Team Fish Taco, I don't want to say it's doom and gloom for Team Tony Top just quite yet, right? We do have to remember that they will have to take a fight around this Ocean Dragon because the Ocean Soul, well, it's not the strongest soul in the world. It is very particularly good against the way that Team Tony Top actually want to try and take their fights. And they will all be on 2 items at the very least, but the question will be, if they can win that fight, then the game becomes much easier for them, right? Yeah. Putting back the Ocean Soul another 5 minutes allows everybody to effectively get themselves to their 3rd item, and that's when the Zeri, that's when the Azir really start taking over. So we gotta ask the, again, I keep calling him the main character, the titular character here for Team Tony Top, but Tony himself really is going to need to find a moment. The complete lack of flank that we saw in the first game will not work again.
And also take into consideration, if we have a repeat of what happened in that last fight, if Tony's gone, he has a 3k lead against Alorum. Effectively, that's removed right off the map, and now you have a Taco that is just booming. See what they can really run around with having that. I mean, it's all on Tony Top.
Yeah. And we'll see. I'm a little bit surprised also at the difference that we have been seeing from Dardoch and Wallflower, right? We were praising Wallflower's ability to be confident last time we saw them very effectively. Whenever Wallflower has been confident, right, I feel like that's been the difference between Wallflower, even when they were iconic, their ability to find success and not, right? We've seen them playing for teams like Maryville. When they play against teams that Wallflower feels that he's better than, or going up against junglers where he feels he's better than, he can run the map. But it doesn't feel as though Wallflower really tried to do much this game, which is not how we are used to seeing this player find success.
Oh, and look at this pinch that might come out from Team Fish Taco. Zero turret setup does give some solace over to Team Tony Top, and that will be heated by Team Fish Taco as they head over towards the Baron side to get some vision. Does look like Team Fish Taco are looking for an angle to take a fight.
It's a really cool turret.
That is.
It's like a Pokeball.
Looks like a Pokeball, yeah.
Okay, but Team Fish Taco, they're starting up the Baron here. This is before the Dragon actually spawns. As long as Team Tony Top prevent this turret from going over.
Oh, Lorem has a good flank right here. He's chasing away some of the members of Team Tony Top. Tony Top himself having to go into the mid lane to lead in that minion wave. It is going to give a lot more over to Team Tony Top. Yeah, they can head over towards that dragon. They're getting control. A lot is kind of getting forfeited here from Team Fish Taco.
Yeah, Team Fish Taco, they need to pick up something here, right? Giving over this dragon is a huge tempo loss over the greater course of the map. Greater course of the game. They need to either pick up this Baron or force the dragon, and because there's enough time for a Team Tony Top to do this, Sudsy can teleport over. They still can potentially take a fight. Oh no!
Team Tony Top looking to back off. Oh, what is going on here? Team Tony Top, they do have the inside track in the mid lane. Alorum will be able to get towards the tower. Walks pretty fearlessly, but Team Tony Top just back off, and it seems like Team Fish Taco are biding their time.
Yeah. But, I mean, they're not the team that can bide their time, right? It feels like a huge misunderstanding of what it is that needs to happen for their team, right? If they pick up that Ocean Soul, they really put a stop to a lot of what it is that Team Tony Top can actually do. And, I mean, we're saying that if they get this dragon here for Team Tony Top, that's another 5 minutes for them to just sit there and scale, and that's exactly what we're going to see. It feels like Team Fish Taco needed to either force the issue around the Baron or just go fight for the dragon. And so I don't want to say that the game is over, because it's never over, but it does feel as though we are once again sliding into a territory. It feels as though Team Tony Top are winning.
Yeah, I mean, if you force a dragon fight, you have the best chance. You know, you're already in the lead as it is, especially if you find Tony top. It already gives you a very, very strong fight to that regard. Without taking it, what you're doing is giving more time for Sudsy and Levitate to kind of scale up and catch up into this game. And we know these are the big late game factors for Team Tony top.
Yeah. Also, at least one of their newest players as well, right? We know that Levitate is a player who hasn't had a ton of competitive experience in the past, only really started playing for the USC Trojans last year for a couple of months before taking a year off, still in school, but only picked up competitive again at the beginning of this year in January. They started playing for the different iterations of Team Tony Top, and now Team Fish Taco, they're hitting again, but they're on Vision.
Team Fish Taco, 7k health remains on the Baron, and Team Tony top are starting to funnel in. Teleports have been channeled. Wallflower looking for the angle. That sentence comes out, but the Baron's already down, and Wallflower is not there. Now going on to Dapshin, already looking for the next knock. The alarm goes forward. Here comes Slicing Maelstrom, finding its mark from Tony top, and they'll chase away Team Fish Taco. But the Baron over to Team Fish Taco.
Sudsy. Not going to find Robbie Bob. That is going to be a 2-for-1 with the Baron going over towards Team Fish Taco, continuing to have this lease on life. But one of the things that I have been liking from Team Fish Taco is their relative decisiveness throughout the course of the game. But here, Team Tony Top, again, relatively slow on their reactions, but we finally get to see all of the benefits of Tony Top's early laning phase. He goes in, and he's not stopped this time by Alarm. Alarm goes wide. Tony Top finds his way into all the rest of the members of Team Fish Taco.
That flash timing was something otherworldly coming out from Tony Top right there. Times it beautifully, reads when Alarm was going to go for that unstoppable force, and that's what we needed out of Tony Top. We need to see this cannon, the resources utilized, the damage put down onto Team Fish Taco. Does get something back for Team Tony Top, but that's step one. We need to see more.
Yeah, there's another dragon coming up here in about a minute and a half as well, and the big question for me is, will Sudsy and Levitate find themselves onto 3 items? At which point, they both become kind of main characters, right? They are suddenly almost as strong as Tony Top, and then of course, Red going to be the main player for Team Fish Taco that we will have to watch at that point, because they are already on 3 items, and we've already talked about how much scaling there is for the Zeri, for the Azir. We've kind of neglected to talk about it for Red at the same time. They have the damage to actually rip through everybody. It's all going to depend on what guns they have and whether or not they can get underneath the range of Sudsy and Levitate. But so far, they're trying to punish Tony Top on the side.
Yeah, they have their eyes set onto him again. He's the one who has the most gold on the team, has been doing the best over for Team Tony Top. Another tower will go down over in that bottom lane. Recall now being channeled from Sudsy, needs to rejoin with the squad as the siege has begun from Team Fish Taco. Alarm will be in the mid lane, still trying to lead minion waves over there. Flexes out, walks on top of a control ward. Team Tony Top still trying to look for a defense here. They're leading it out with Wallflower. Just trying to get an angle in. Still has that control ward there. Alarm did not clear it out, so Wallflower unspotted. They have to suspect he's over around that angle. That's why Dardoch does set up into that position. Battle line's drawn right here. Who's going to pull first?
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things where I do like the fact that Team Tony Top, they're shifting between the different waves, trying to clear out waves before they can actually impact. And now they're moving down in force with this flank, but Alarm's in a great spot.
Yeah, Alarm's in a beautiful spot, but he misses the unstoppable force. And now it's time for Tony to slice him and dice him. Bring in the Slicing Maelstrom. Red will be able to take down the Rat. Is it enough for Team Fish Taco to bring it back? Tony Top still fighting forward. Over the wall comes Wallflower, and the Cyclone brings a hurricane to Red. Knockup found.
Red?
The second R is going to get the kill onto Red. And now Robbie Bob tries to flee, but Levitate gets the shutdown. 3 found for Team Tony Top.
Oh my gosh, what a huge change between all the different fights that we've seen so far. Alarm did such a good job in the first one of the game, but then Tony Top had a fantastic second fight in here. I mean, Alarm's ult just goes completely wide, and Tony Top misses the one crucial member, and Red gets to hit for so long. But we've got news, Eric. Team Tony Top have scaled. Both Azir and Zeri already on 3 items. They tear that one apart. They find another dragon stalling out the soul yet again. And suddenly, Team Tony Top are putting themselves in another fantastic position.
And Josh, we just have to keep going back to the dragon that was forfeited earlier by Team Fish Taco. It feels like such a wasted opportunity because now look at Levitate, 2-1-3. He was 0 on kills before. You already mentioned earlier Sudsy catching up on the economy as well. The carries are so online right now for Team Tony Top. They have a fighting chance. They're no longer just dependent on Tony.
Yeah, we were asking if Levitate was even going to hit 3 items in this game. Now they're almost on 4, right? The huge difference that has just come through from the last couple of fights have really put potentially the most rookie player in this entire series now in a position where they can be the most important player in the entire game. And Levitate in particular, we got to see how well they were actually able to move around that last fight, make sure that there was no real threat put on them whatsoever. That's one of the things where we have seen, while Alarm has had a fantastic ultimate to get the first fight going, that's 2 in a row that have missed.
You could definitely argue that Levitate has been a little bit coin flippy when it does come to the 2v2, but when it comes to positioning in these team fights, Levitate does know how to get into a good spot and deliver that damage. Now it's Team Fish Taco who are leading in a wave over towards the top lane, and the bottom lane will be matched by Tony Top.
Yeah. Tony Top should be able to pick up this bottom lane turret here, but Dardoch looking for a dive. Doesn't actually go for it.
Teleport's available for Tony Top. Be a very risky fight. Tony's going to take down turret for turret, now going on the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, I mean, Kennen with the attack speed coming out from that E actually crushes down turrets. Yeah. That's going to be an inhibitor turret gone. Doesn't have any wards to actually teleport to on the other side of the map, but still opening up the base is going to necessitate that every single time that wave is pushing towards the side of Team Fish Taco, that somebody will need to go back answering.
That's always the threat when it comes to Tony Top. If he gets a lead, if he gets destroying your lane, then he is that split push menace. He will always be that side lane pressure, and that pressure has pretty much broken the base of Team Fish Taco, just leaving that inhibitor now exposed. And with that, Tony Top starts setting out on the map to get some deep vision.
And with the Baron already on the map, as you were talking about, Eric, it is going to be Team Tony Top. I would love to see a couple of deeper wards coming through to actually allow Tony Top to teleport towards them, but not going to be able to get any of those down just quite yet. And I would love to see Team Tony Top, I mean, again, looking for these opportunities to be a bit more aggressive. They've been letting Team Fish Taco dictate most of the movements on the map so far. And now Tony Top, this might be the first real time we've seen them go for a flank.
Tony Top in position. Also bought that Banshee's Veil, so it makes it that much harder for Alorum to lock down that unstoppable force onto Tony Top. That sentence lands on the Wallflower, only taking away a little bit of damage. It's the clone, unfortunately. But
the wrong monkey.
Both teams standing in the mid lane right now, waiting to throw down. Tony Top, Alorum, both standing in those flanking positions.
Yeah, we're also seeing that Tony Top is really starting to struggle to get through Alorum's HP bar at this point, especially with that shield up over time. But I have to admit, I'm a little bit hesitant, right? Tony Top did a really good job when they had the flash up, and Team Fish Taco had put themselves in the pit all at the same time. But this is what I like to see coming through from Tony, making sure that they can be on the back side, actually get some of these flank angles to come through. But Snow?
Oh, Snow! Pressure, but that means the Banshees fails down right onto Tony. Tony can't get in the fight, and you've already lost Snow.
And there it is, cease and desist on the Tony Top, taking him down. Can the carries of Team Tony Top shine bright?
Levitate bringing in the autos, going after Daption. Robbie now looking to flee. Woo! Levitate gets one. Sudsy able to get it onto Daption, hop over that wall and take down Red. Team Tony Top take the team fight.
The damage base is so strong at this point, Eric. They're still able to fire through because all of the crowd control from Team Fish Taco is used to actually kill Tony themselves. This should put Team Tony Top yet again. Both teams will be on soul point. But also, I do want to give a little bit of props as well to Daption. That's the third time we've actually seen them just hook Snow out of any engage they go for. The other side of the fight, right? Sudsy and Levitate, even with how tanky Alorum has already built themselves, they're still able to just continue firing right on back, and even with the stopwatch coming through from Red, it's relatively easy for Levitate to hop over the wall after them to pick that one up. And so now 3 dragons apiece for both sides. It's going to be a lot more pressure coming through on Team Fish Taco. They can't afford to give over another dragon. It goes back again to when they gave up Soul Point in order to force an issue around the Baron.
It's a new story for Team Tony Top. You can take down Tony, but now Sudsy and Levitate are those guys. And as you can see, the build's really deep into it right now for Team Tony Top's carries, scaling into this late game 35
That's a
minutes.
Randuin's.
It is getting kind of nutty right now, especially for Sudsy. Yeah, that Randuin's picked up.
Wow. I mean, that makes them very tanky to specifically red. A bit surprising to see that coming through, as it does help a little bit with Dardoch at the same time. But now, the game has started to revolve almost entirely around this Baron. Team Tony Top. Tony Top. Looking to come through, and yet again, not going to be going for any real flank here, but we've been seeing so much pressure from Alorum come through, and now it's around the Baron. They just get away with it so far.
Daption gets one play out. Looking for the Vault Breaker. Wallflower's starting to get low right here. Robbie Bob's going to go in. He's trying to find Sudsy. Cyclone goes out. Valorum's able to grab one. It's a trade 1-for-1 thus far, but falling into the back end. Red grabs the kill onto Tony Top. Robbie Bob will not land the charm. Emperor's Divide from Sudsy does a lot of work to keep the carries going for Tony Top. So far, Taco are winning out in the fight, but the carries are still looking to swing. Step forward, and now here comes the siege for Team Fish Taco.
Yeah, Robbie Bob has a teleport as well. It looks as though, again, the fact that Team Fish Taco are just more decisive around all these plays, picking up another Baron, basically uncontested. It's only Levitate and Sudsy they've scaled, but this is 4 members with a Baron.
Are they going for the end right here? Yeah, they're looking to close this out. Sudsy and Levitate, they got a clutch, and they got a clutch big time, but against Alorum, they got a lot of tanking to get through. Now here comes Snow. Snow able to get one knock up, but the Nexus Tower number 1's going to go down. Levitate will grab one kill. Now still trying to churn through them, but it's not enough because Alorum's unstoppable force breaks the face of Levitate, and game number 1 goes to Team Fish Taco.
Wow, Team Fish Taco, again, that's the second time they go through, and they just challenge towards the Baron, and Team Tony Top not able to move for it at all. All the scaling advantages in the world not going to matter if the shot calling is a little bit better here from Team Fish Taco, and that's going to mean that Team Fish Taco, they walk away with game 1. What felt like a game that was very rapidly becoming very difficult for them to play. They just find a single good fight, and that's all that they need.
It was a game that they definitely had to work to get that win because Tony Top were on the precipice of bringing something back with those late game carries. We're going to throw it over a break. When we return, we'll have Mazel here with our Rally Cry halftime show.